ℚ𝔦𝔫𝔤 on the beat.
$signs flashing through my mind, flashing through my mind, flashing through my mind. $signs flashing through my, flashing through my, flashing.
Louisiana, you're a fool for this one.
Look who just entered the room. This is a legion of doom. Off of that fire and shrooms. Triple D, we from straight from the noon. Let the bitches start pimping on life. For water with ice and not blinking your sight. For West Indies lights be as bright as a night. We at night, we inviting them shadows of light. Oh, you don't know I'm a gypsy? I spray your whole block with graffiti. You saying so hard but can't see me? Cause I'm a no black with a beanie. I'm a no black with a beanie. I'm a no black with a beanie. Face I be ghost, you would think I was genie. Thought I was relic to blue Lamborghini. We forgot this planet. 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 I like the way that you be out. She like the way that I be down. I'm liking the way that you smile. She want it right here and right now. Want it right here and right now. Want it in front of the crowd. Want it in front of the crowd. Wanna fuck me right here and right now.
I'm the king around here, and don't you forget it.
Peace and welcome to another live stream. ℚ𝔦𝔤𝔞𝔱𝔰. We back in here. You already know. Yes, that's me on the track. Of course it's me only. Ain't nobody else saying that type of shit. We already know who it is on the track. Let's not kid ourselves here. Let's not kid ourselves. I'm gonna actually play it again. I'm playing it again. Let's play it again. It's only 2 minutes. Let's go. Let's go.
ℚ𝔦𝔫𝔤 on the beat.
$signs flashing through my mind, flashing through my mind, flashing through my mind. $signs flashing through my, flashing through my, flashing.
Louisiana, you're a fool for this one.
Look who just entered the room. This is a legion of doom. Off of that fire and shrooms. Triple D, we from straight from the noon. Let the bitches start pimping on life. For water with ice and not blinking your sight. For West Indies lights be as bright as a night. We at night, we inviting them shadows of light. Oh, you don't know I'm a gypsy? I spray your whole block with graffiti. You saying so hard but can't see me? Cause I'm a no black with a beanie. I'm a no black with a beanie. I'm a no black with a beanie. Face I be ghost, you would think I was genie. Thought I was relic to blue Lamborghini. We forgot this planet. 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 I like the way that you be out. She like the way that I be down. I'm liking the way that you smile. She want it right here and right now. Want it right here and right now. Want it in front of the crowd. Want it in front of the crowd. Wanna fuck me right here and right now.
I'm the king around here, and don't you forget it.
Alright. There we go. Let's turn this down a little bit. Okay. As we see, There's no way to express that without actually, let me say it this way. We invite in those shadows of light. Shadows of light. Let me explain what that means. Whenever we are dealing with unconscious forces, these forces appear in a negative or dark light because they are unfamiliar. Anything that is unfamiliar to the conscious will be shocking. You see something you never seen before. Let some type of animal or insect crawl on you that you've never seen before. People are already scared of bugs. But let a bug that you don't know what it is, you've never seen it before, you will be scared out of your mind. If you see something you've never seen, it's going to be shocking. This shock, this powerful release of energy is what occurs when we blow up, when we explode, when something triggers us, pushes us over the edge. This mysterious, sudden release of forces comes from the primitive mind that we call the unconscious. When we're able to do superhuman things because the circumstances call for them. What we attempt to do is establish those same connections without having to actually have to resort to those measures. In other words, trauma. Without having to go through a traumatic experience in order for you to become superhuman. You actually want to have a more controlled metamorphosis. In order to control that metamorphosis, this is where we find the shadows of light, the fragments of light, the emanations of light. Whenever we face what we call demons, they possess light, or they're made of dark light. You can say that. They're made or composed of dark light. We know that we have dark light and we have dark matter and we have dark energy. There's all these variations of dark. You even have what we call antimatter. Once we get more technical, before you can have matter, you have to produce antimatter. This is that shadow light. Shadow light represents antimatter, which is necessary for matter to crystallize. Matter crystallizes out of antimatter. Moving forward, if we look in front of us at this astrology chart, I have configured it to have the 4 angles, which we see as the AS, the IC, the MC, and let me see, where is the, well, it should be the DS, which will be at the 7th house. I guess I didn't turn that on. But I'll do it now. Give me a second. I'll just do it now. Let me turn that on. There we go. There we go. So we have the four angles: AS, IC, DS, MC. The AS represents the personal reality. The DS represents the impersonal reality. The IC represents the spiritual reality. The MC represents the public reality. So because this is a universal chart, these are the attributes in which we will see in everyone. Because astrology influences, or rather the planetary forces influence us through our unconscious mind, so people can better understand why the planets have such a powerful influence on us. It is not conscious, it is even deeper than the subconscious, because the subconscious is still personal. We all have our own personal subconscious. We are all connected through the unconscious, which is also called the collective unconscious. That's where we're all synchronized. So us being affected collectively through the planets, they have to be affecting the unconscious mind. So just to make that clear, because I'm sure no one else has made that clear in terms that's understandable. The planets affect the unconscious mind. So once you understand that the collective unconscious is what is influenced by the planets, from that perspective, we see how astrology can either make, not astrology, the planets can either make you a slave or you be the master. If you are not aware of the happenings of your planets, your life will appear to be slave-like. It appears like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know how to create this, how to navigate this, which are all the questions astrology helps us to answer. So if we don't have that information, then these questions have to be answered physically. Astrology answers the questions internally. Experience answers the questions physically. So when you seek the answers in the physical world, they are going to be answered with physical results. But it will not change your psychology. It will not affect your psyche. If you are attempting to influence your psyche, your will has to be stronger than the magnetism of the planets. But that's a different story. Let's look right in front of us and see what's going on collectively. What is everybody experiencing personally? We see the AS is 6 degrees Virgo. Collectively, everyone is in their research mode. Virgo is the researcher. Everyone is in their research mode. Everyone is in their cave. Everyone is in their hermit disguise, or their hermit hat. They have on their hermit hats. I'm just using terms and metaphors. So we know the hermit card and the tarot. Then we know the researcher. So everyone on a personal level is researching at this current moment. What's going on spiritually? That's where we look towards the IC. The IC represents the residue of our reality, or our foundation, where all of our energy collects. And when we need to remember our essence, we have to pull from the IC. The IC represents our stardust. essentially, when you completely break down to the nothingness and you have to remember who and what you are, your foundations, you have to collect your stardust, which is gathered in the IC. So collectively, the IC, or the ℚ𝔬𝔦𝔫𝔤, for those who want the technical term, the ℚ𝔬𝔦𝔫𝔤, 7 degrees Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the philosopher. So spiritually, Sagittarius can also represent divination. The philosopher, how does a philosopher philosophize? Through divination. Mental divination. Mental divination. The philosopher, because it's the ℚ𝔬𝔦𝔫𝔤, because the ℚ𝔬𝔦𝔫𝔤 is expressing itself through the philosopher, through divination, we have to utilize some form of divination to receive our answers. The answers have to be received through divination. So whatever your particular form of divination, that's how you tap into the divine currently, as all of these alignments are constantly changing. So this applies to right now. So divination is powerful currently, which is probably the reason why I keep coming online today and able to read these attributes very easily. That's probably why right there. Next, we have the DS, or the descendant. The ascendant, the ℚ𝔬𝔦𝔫𝔤, the descendant. The descendant represents how we interact with people on a one-to-one basis. You have your personality, how you interact with yourself. You have your self-personality, the conversations you have with yourself. You have your relationship with the divine. You have your relationship with people on a one-to-one basis. Then you have your relationship with the public. So people's relationship on a one-to-one basis is 7 degrees Pisces, which represents isolation. Pisces hovers around the outer limits of reality and isolation. Pisces is always isolated. So on a one-to-one level, we are experiencing isolation, which is right and exact, because people are not coming together. Like whoever you're around, that's who you're around. Like now, of course, people are meeting and still conducting business on a personal level, but it has to be isolated. It has to be done in the outer limits, because it cannot be done gathered. You know, you can't just go to a bar or some type of entertainment venue like we normally would. Now, even if you gather, it still has to be isolated, as there can be no more than 10 people together at one time. So when we do come together, we are still isolated, and we see that being expressed through the DS, or the descendant, 8 degrees Pisces. Next, what is our relationship with the public looking like? We have 8 degrees Gemini at the midheaven. 8 degrees Gemini represents, or Gemini as a whole represents, the talker. Gemini is all about dispensing information. So publicly, our relationship with the public is geared around dispensing information, which is why everyone is glued to the news. Gemini represents the media, social media, communications, all that's Gemini, and that's what we see. Everyone is communicating. Everyone wants to know what's going on. Everyone wants to have access to the news, especially today, especially in these times. So once again, we have on a personal level, everyone is researching, being that of the researcher. Our relationship with the divine can be received through a form of divination of your choice. My particular choice just so happened to be astrology. But there are infinite forms of divination, and everyone has their personal form, whatever it may be. Because before I was into astrology, I was always into playing cards. So playing cards was my first form of divination, which is why I ultimately evolved into tarot reading. I had already been, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Pokemon cards, back in the day. Like I was already, that was a thing back then. So that was the first. Then it evolved into taking it more seriously. But even that was a form of divination, which is why I bring it up. So even that was a form. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, all types, Digimon, all types of cards. Even that's a form of divination. Chess, all board games, all of these are forms of divination. Next, on a one-on-one basis, our relationship on a one-on-one basis, we are experiencing isolation through Pisces, of course. Then publicly, it is all about social media. We are all communicating via social media, utilizing the media to get out the information that we feel is relevant. So we use the media as a channel. So this is how the planets are influencing us all through the unconscious mind. Or in this particular case, the four corners. Because the only planets we have up are the outer planets. And again, we will only be dealing with the outer planets if we want to understand the long terms. Because the long terms always come through the outer planets, because they take a while to change signs. Years and years and years and years and years. So their effects are long term. So when we understand the long term effects first, when we experience the changing tides of reality, we will be more understanding of those tides, of those changes, once we get a grip of what energies are here to stay. Because everyone's question is, how long is this going to last? In order to answer the questions, we have to go towards the outer planets, because the outer planets are here to stay. The outer planets' influence is not really felt until the more faster moving planets actually align with them, which are called the activators. The outer planets are activated by the inner planets. The inner planets activate because they're constantly changing signs. So they are activated. So once we understand the energies that are activated and what planet activates that energy, again, all of this is alchemy. We're just mixing and matching planets and zodiac signs in a way that's highly complex, but that stimulates both sides of the brain, which makes us more intelligent. Having these types of conversations makes us more intelligent, because we are going deeper into the roots of what we know to be true. We can always study the science of nature whenever we have answers. Now, I also have Cupido up here, which, if you look at the right hand side, it's in 21 degrees Sagittarius. So when you see the 21 degrees, the blue symbol to the left of the 21 is Cupido, which is in Sagittarius in the 4th house. The reason I have Cupido up here because Cupido represents family and creativity and art. So basically, family, art, what can we be doing as a collective for those who have big families and people who are gathered collectively? Like, what would be great activities to produce and to engage in when it comes to family and art and just overall creativity on a collective level, on a level that allows us to partner up and share? We have 21 degrees Sagittarius. So first and foremost, we have Cupido in the home. So we already know the home. So we are tapping into the subconscious mind. 21 degrees Sagittarius. So once again, we had the philosopher, but this time we have 21 degrees. We have the moon and the sun. The moon is in front of the sun, so the emotional energy is more dominant than the masculine in this case. So meaning more passive activities that require divination. So passive divination. So what is passive divination? Things like meditation, things like yoga, things like qigong, things like Eastern exercises. So for those who are not really into yoga, martial arts, for those who want something more aggressive, you have martial arts. Passive, I guess martial arts would be more active, but in the sense of it's for you to maintain inner stability when you are exercising the arts. So it's for you to remain stilled internally, even though you may be moving externally. So the collective philosopher, being able to seek truth and gather truth in ways that are dynamic search of truth, dynamic search of truth. So what is that? That's more like dynamic meditation. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with dynamic meditation, but that's basically where I'm going at. Dynamic meditation. Because we're dealing with Sagittarius, because we're dealing with the fire, we need some type of energy combined with the emotional energy of the moon. The moon wants to expand its fires of Sagittarius. So as the moon is moving very quickly, the moon is spreading fires of light or intelligence, spreading intelligence through light that we call divination, dynamic meditation, which will allow you to receive divination. Next, we have Ceres. I wanted to bring up Ceres because Ceres represents creation, how to create, what to create. Ceres is right above Cupido, 26 degrees Capricorn, 5th house, the 5th house of creativity. 26 degrees Capricorn is all about power, being able to integrate very powerful forces together, basically like a kingdom. A kingdom is a collective. If you look at any country, it is a collective of states which all have their own individual power. Ceres, 26 degrees Capricorn. Capricorn is all about the higher earthly mind. In other words, Virgo being the researcher, Capricorn is more of the mathematician. So creation is taking place through mathematics, because we have 26 degrees, which takes us right back to the number 8 or the planet Saturn. Creation through mathematics. As we know, mathematics is the language of the universe. So it is time for us to enhance our mathematical ability In other words, our ability to problem solve and solve problems. Mathematics enhances our ability to problem solve. Our ability to quickly solve mathematical problems will translate into the real world as quickly being able to solve real-time problems, tapping into the higher logical mind. On the flip side, if we take it to the tarot, the Capricorn also represents the Devil card. The Devil card symbolizes the lowest form of spiritual energy. So the devil is spiritual, but it is spirituality at its lowest, most cardinal form, which is very grotesque, very disturbing to look at. Try walking in on the sex act. It's going to be very disturbing, very grotesque, even though the people who are in the act may be having the time of their life. But let someone else, it is not going to be the same energy. So that's what it really symbolizes, the ability to understand that same act of creation can empower one and disgust another. That primitive act, which goes back to the beginning of time, has the ability to do so many good things, but it still has the ability to disgust. Let a porno come on at the wrong place. It's not going to be a very good reaction. Not because anything is wrong, as everyone engages in the act, but the sacredness of it will disgust people if it's done at the wrong time. In other words, you have to be in a certain state of mind to appreciate that. What we call horny. If you're not horny, you probably don't want to see anything cardinal. However, if you are, you actually want to go as deep into your carnality as possible. So this polarity, that's what the devil is ultimately representing, the polarity of this powerful force that, depending on your state of consciousness, you want to get the furthest away from it as you can, or you want to go the deepest into it as you can. And the only difference is your state of consciousness. It's the same act, but depending on your consciousness, it will be perceived differently. So the same act that everyone loves to do will disgust people when they don't want to see it. That's just the power of the mind. And when we have the ability to consciously navigate through states of consciousness where you can be in the most disgusting situation possible. See, this is the thing. When people are in, let's just say, situations or hardships or places that they don't want to be in, most of the time they tend to be disgusted. Oh, I don't want to be here. Hate being here. Fuck, job, house, whatever it is. They're disgusted. Right? They're disgusted. If we apply what we just described, what we just spoken about, you see how this completely changes the perspective of everything. It changes everything. When you change your consciousness, which is what you're supposed to be doing anyway. That's what all the techniques, all the ancient books, everything is saying, change your consciousness, but it's not really explained like this. But this is what it's saying. How do you transcend your circumstances? Well, you have to change your consciousness. Well, of course, we've been hearing that forever. But this is what it's really speaking about. The same situations that disgust you will no longer disgust you when you change your consciousness. It's not the circumstance that changes first. It's your consciousness that changes first. Because when your consciousness changes, you will naturally correct whatever errors